To continue our discussion on connecting rural communities, I'm joined now by Mari Silbey, Program Director of the Platforms for Advanced Wireless Research Project. The program is a public-private partnership funded by the National Science Foundation that recently announced its newest research testbed in central Iowa that focuses on technologies for low-cost, high-speed rural broadband connectivity. Welcome, Mari.
Thank you so much for having me, Julia.
Yes, well, just to get started, I would love to hear more about the Platforms for Advanced Wireless Research program. I know you're the director of it, and I would love to know what the focuses of the project are and really how it came to be.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm with the nonprofit organization US Ignite, and we co-lead the project office for the Platforms for Advanced Wireless Research program, or POWER, with our partners at Northeastern University. But the POWER program was really created to develop and deploy 4 test beds across the country, large-scale test beds for wireless research. And it was created and initially funded by the National Science Foundation, as you mentioned, but it's also funded and supported by an industry consortium of around 35 leading wireless companies and associations. So it truly is a public-private partnership. And those 4 test beds that I just mentioned and that you just referenced, 2 of those are operational today, one in Salt Lake City, Utah, and one in the West Harlem neighborhood of New York City. There's a third coming online later this fall that's focused on drone-based wireless communications, and that's in Raleigh, North Carolina. And the 4th testbed was just named actually last month with a focus on rural broadband connectivity, and that's based out of rural Iowa and is being led by a team out of Iowa State University.
Now, on this issue or topic of test beds, I should say, I guess as a layperson, I'm trying to visualize a test bed and really what it does. So could you break down what exactly a test bed does and what it is?
Sure. I'm very glad you asked for that clarification. So the POWER test beds, the collaboration here, enables us to deploy both physical and virtual infrastructure that can be used by a number of different parties to test out and innovate and combine and work with lots of different wireless and broadband technologies, with the potential to deliver powerful broadband more effectively. So these really are collaborative shared resources, and those types of collaborative test beds are still relatively rare, which is why the POWER program is so important. If you want to talk a little bit more about the rural broadband program, just to give you a sort of a visual sense of what that looks like, the team is designing a test bed that will go across about 60 kilometers in rural Iowa, or about 40 miles, and that will cover the campus of the University of Iowa. It will also cover parts of the city of Ames, Iowa, and then some surrounding communities as well, including working farms. And what the team will do is deploy a multimodal network across this entire footprint that combines lots of different types of wireless technologies. And it will enable researchers to come in and do network research with lots of different types of wireless technologies on this shared infrastructure to be able to find ways really to deliver broadband more cost effectively in these rural areas.
And we keep mentioning these rural areas and states like Iowa. And one thing I'm wondering, and I think our audience, maybe some lay people in our audience are wondering, is what's at stake for connecting rural communities? Why is it so important?
Well, I think if there was any silver lining coming out of the pandemic, it's certainly that it has shined a light on the importance of connectivity for education, as we've heard from other speakers, for education, for economic development, job growth, even for public safety and security. These are all incredibly important. And I should mention that the other thing, besides just communications and network research that will come out of the platform in Iowa, there's also an opportunity to do application level research. So we are very grateful to partner also with the USDA. They contributed resources, their NIFA division, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, also contributed funding and resources for this platform in Iowa, specifically to enable application research to do new things and new innovative things on farms and agricultural regions. So Just as a quick example, one thing I've heard the team talk about is the ability to deploy literally robots with imaging sensors out in fields and farms to do things like plant phenotyping, identifying and classifying plants remotely, things like that that simply wouldn't be possible without the connectivity.
Right, right. And, you know, we talk about this pandemic and how it's really changed the game for connectivity. And I think you touched on this a little bit just now. But what are some of the improvements that have been made in this space, you know, during the pandemic or between March of 2020 and now?
Well, there was certainly a lot of private investment, and to give credit where credit is due, there was certainly quite a bit of private investment to ensure that the networks were up to speed to handle as much as possible of the suddenly remote everything that we were living with in the pandemic. But I also think, you know, we are headed towards what is likely to be a once in a generation investment in infrastructure in broadband coming out of Congress. And again, I think it's because the pandemic really shined a light on the importance of connectivity. And my hope is that there will be more collaboration both across federal agencies for helping to solve the digital divide and to continue to keep us competitive and innovative in the broadband and wireless space. And also that there will be more collaboration across the public and private sector, because I think that's going to be critical to improving our broadband and evolving to the next stages of these technologies and making sure that everybody's connected.
Mari Silbey, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for all of the work you do in connecting so many of the communities in the U.S. We'll definitely be keeping our eyes on it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.